Welcome to the Mommy Actor Podcast. I am your Mommy Actor host, TERRA Lyons, the creator of this podcast, and I am so excited to share these experiences with the world. I have had the honor of being a TV and film actor in Hollywood, landing roles on shows such as Law & Order SVU, NCIS Los Angeles, and Westworld. And I have two beautiful daughters. First of all, this podcast is not just for actors. It's not just for moms. This show is for all women and men who feel like they deserve a career of their dreams and children. On this show, you will hear stories from mothers who have dared to leave their six-figure corporate jobs to be happy, thriving creatives. Mothers who left their partners to fully commit to a life in the arts. Women who decided to become mothers even though their dreams weren't quite reality yet. Here, you will hear the stories of women navigating motherhood through the lens of actors. I started this podcast because I wanted to have a real conversation about what it's like to seriously pursue a career as an artist, as a mother in entertainment. So today I'm going to tell you my story, like my decision to get pregnant at a very pivotal time in my career, right when I got my LA reps. Yes, it was 3 years in the making. I'll talk about my journey as an actor, what led me to become a mother, and how all of that is going so far. This is the Mommy Actor Podcast.
Mommy!
Actor.
Mommy!
Actor.
Mommy!
Actor.
It's the first episode. It's the first episode. It's the first episode. First of all, I just want to say thank you to God. I feel so honored to have gotten this vision to open up this conversation. I feel like it's not out there and it deserves a space. I want to thank everybody who is tuning in and listening. I hope that you were honored by this conversation. I hope it motivates you, inspire you. Anything you need from this, I'm hoping that you're going to get it today. I also want to say that I get real passionate sometimes. Sometimes a couple curse words might slip out. I'm sorry in advance, but this is the flow. We just talking. We just being real, right? So let's get one thing clear. I'm not here to tell you that becoming a mother in the middle of this career is a smart decision. It's not tactical. It's not logical. It's ridiculous, honestly. My job is to empower you, to inform you, and to motivate you to live the life that you think you deserve. So listen, every woman can't be Cardi B or Kerry Washington during Scandal. Most of my acting female friends are not mothers, and they probably won't ever be mothers. They have decided that their careers are their baby, and for the most part, that's working out really well for them. I mean, think about it. Any woman who is career driven, she has no distractions, plenty of time, making their own decisions, they're probably going to excel. A childless woman will probably excel quicker in this life. Because let me tell you, becoming a mother will probably slow down your timeline significantly. And still, some of us actors make the crazy and scary choice to pause everything, get pregnant, raise children, all while we turn our bodies and likeness into brands and businesses. So let's talk about it. What's a mother? She takes care of her house, she cooks, she cleans, she takes care of the kids, and in today's society, she still has to bring in some income, period. On the flip side, what's an artist? An artist is sexy, mysterious, appealing, desirable, popular. Being a mother is not necessarily a sexy topic. It's not popular to talk about changing diapers and waiting in the pickup line at school between photo shoots and award ceremonies, but it's real. It's a real reality for mothers in entertainment. So let's get into it. First and foremost, I want you to know that most of these episodes will feature interviews with mothers in the entertainment industry. But this episode, I wanted to take the opportunity to introduce myself, tell you my journey, And hopefully it does something to you. So, who am I? I am Tara. I'm an actor. I'm a mom of two beautiful girls. Deilani is 5. Aria is almost 2. I'm a wife to my husband Dominic. And apparently, I'm a podcaster. What inspired me to start this podcast? Well, I recently had an audition that went viral on Instagram for Law and Order SVU, a job that I booked last December. And I started getting a flood of DMs and messages from people, other actors who were thinking about starting families, and men emailing me saying, me and my wife, we want to start our family, we want to get pregnant, and I had a consultation with an actress, and she said to me, you are the only actor friend that I have that is now a mom and is still pursuing this dream. And even though I knew that that was not true, it inspired me. It made me feel like there needs to be a space where we can talk about what it is like to be a mom and an actor and be candid about it. I want to be able to be candid about everything. I think that, truth sets you free. So my truth is that I'm a mom, I'm an actor, the shit is hard, and I want to talk about it. And I want to talk about it with other people. I feel that women deserve to have a full life. With that said, like I said, it's not easy, but it's possible. So here's my story. I was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I moved to Cincinnati, Ohio with my mom when I was 5. I was raised as a Baptist Christian. I went to the oldest black church in Cincinnati, Ohio. Shout out to Union Baptist Church. When I was 5, I decided I was going to be a singer. My favorite singer was Whitney Houston. Just like millions of other singers out there. And I auditioned for the School for Creative and Performing Arts, legendary SCPA in Cincinnati. I got in for music, dance, drama, and creative writing. And little fun fact, I actually played the violin for a year, and then I gave that up. I don't know what I was thinking. Around this time, like in the 6th or 7th grade, I had a best friend. She was also a singer, and we started a group called Young Love. And that was super cool because we got an opportunity to perform all over. We went churches all over the city. We performed in New York. We went to talent show after talent show. We made an album. We was popping. And then just like most boy band, girl bands, we broke up. But I learned a lot. I learned a lot about what it means to be an artist, all of the work that goes into putting yourself out there, publicizing yourself. And yeah, I'm thankful for that. That was my first opportunity to learn what it's like to be a performing artist. And not just a performing artist, but a musical artist. That'll come a little later in the story too. So after we broke up, I really started to be immersed in musical theater at my school and in the community. I think there was a time where I was in like 3 plays at once. I was in the school ballet. I was in the school musical. I was doing the community theater outside of school. I mean, it was nothing for me to go from one rehearsal, have to make an exception to get into my next rehearsal, and then be in the community play rehearsal until 11 o'clock at night. My mom picking me up late, go home, get ready, go to school, do it all over again the next day. And it's important to tell this part of my story because this became a really bad habit of mine where I would overload my schedule. But everything always seemed to work out, right? I was always able to get exception from my teachers. I was always able to, squeeze my schedule together to make sure I could make it to this performance and that performance. And it really didn't take a toll on me until it took a toll on me. We'll get to that too. I was also told by a teacher at this time, I remember, that I could not be a jack of all trades and be a master of any. And I want to say to all of my performers, all of my creatives out there, because you understand that. You've probably heard that before. Somebody's told you that before. You can't be a jack of all trades and a master of any. Like, pick something, right? I think there's truth to it. There's truth to it. I resent it, but there is some truth to it. I have a million ideas. I've had a million ideas that I've brought to life and let them go just as quickly as they came in my head, just because you can't do it all, right? You got to focus. There's got to be enough energy and effort towards one thing to get it done. But on the flip side of that, you do have everything in you to do everything that you want to do. You just gotta commit. And as long as you're committed and you're organized, you could be a jack of all. Look at Tiana Taylor. I like her a lot. She's killing it, and she's a mommy actor. Shout out. You could do it. Just stay committed and get organized. Took me a while to really, really get organized. I've always been super organized, but the organization I needed was next level. So anyway, after high school, I decided I wanted to be a singer. After all of my experiences, I still wanted that. So I moved to Nashville, Tennessee. I got into Tennessee State University. I always wanted to go to a black college. I picked TSU because it was right down the street from Cincinnati. I got in on a forensic speech scholarship, even though I really wanted to be a sophisticated lady. If you know TSU, if you know the band, the Sophisticated Ladies, they do a little, they do all the dancing with the band. And so I really wanted that, but forensics was giving out the dough, got me a scholarship, and it worked out well for me. I won awards all over the country with the forensics team. I became the president of the forensics team. I became known as the speech girl, the forensics girl on campus. And in my second year at TSU, I joined a cover band, and I started to travel the country as a headline singer and dancer. So between the band and between forensics, I basically didn't have a social life on campus. I'm grateful for both experiences, but I have to say, not having a social life on campus, I really do regret it in a lot of ways, because I needed a community. I needed a community because my senior year, I decided to run for Miss Tennessee State University. And like I've said a million times, I overload my schedule. I have a million things that I'm always doing. While I was running for Miss TSU, I was pledging Delta. I was still on the forensics team. I was traveling with the Jimmy Church Band, and I had like 2 other organizations that I was trying to maintain, right? So this was my first experience. Running for Miss TSU was my first experience where I had a lot of fans, but I didn't have a lot of friends, people who really believed in me, on a deeper level than just, oh, we know her, she's the speech girl, right? She's the one that performs at all of the this and that. And it was a really deep situation. It ended up becoming a really deep situation. Spoiler alert, I won. I won Miss Tennessee State University. However, I don't think there was like a deep support for me. I mean, I know there was not a deep support for me because I ended up getting the title taken from me, but I'll speak on this because I feel like a lot of my followers are people who went to Tennessee State during that time. First of all, I really, really, really wanted to be Miss Tennessee State University. I worked really hard on that campaign. I was doing a lot. I was a very stressed person during that time. So when I prevailed and I won, after all of that, I really felt like God was gifting me with something that I worked really hard for. I sacrificed a lot. I had to quit the forensics team, which was my life at TSU. I had to quit the forensics team in order to pursue Miss TSU. I had to work. I had to travel with the band. I had to work, but I had to cancel gigs. I was in the middle of pledging for Delta. Had to do that. Spend $1,800. That's gonna happen. Post certification happened, which typically doesn't happen until the following semester, the fall semester. They did it a month after the election during the summer. I didn't have enough credits to have qualified that semester. Mind you, the reason why that rule was put in place was because you have to be a senior in order to be Miss Tennessee State University. I already had enough credits to be a senior. I was a music major. We had to take 1 million classes. So I was already a senior. I was already qualified to be Miss Tennessee State University. However, this loophole created this space for administration to take me out of the running and put their girl, the one that they wanted to win, in there. And it's one thing to have a bunch of students against you. It's another thing to have the administration of the school against you. I understand why. I learned a huge lesson. I learned a great lesson. If they don't know you, they don't understand you, they don't like the way you look, you're too dark, your hair is too nappy, they're gonna push you out. They'll find a way to get rid of you. They don't want to know you. We already got our girl, right? Let's just make it happen. It's a hard lesson. A lot of people think it was wrong. My mama was the number one person who thought it was wrong. She went crazy. She lost it. She would not stop. She sent letters to everybody. It was a thing. But at the end of the day, the business that I'm in, the business that we're in as actors, people are going to like you for no reason at all. They're going to not like you for no reason at all. Oh, I don't like the way she twitches her face, right? Let's figure out how to get her gone. You end up on the shade room. People going to say something about you. No matter what you're wearing, don't matter people will find a way, right? So learn that hard lesson. It made me stronger, and I'm still in this thing. I'm still proving things to myself, not to anybody else, proving things to myself, because I know what I want out of life, and you gotta take the good with the bad. I see it as a positive experience because I grew as a person. So I challenge you to find a place in your life where you were really embarrassed or something was taken from you and you felt like you didn't deserve that, and make it a positive. Everything happens for a reason. So after I graduated from Tennessee State University, I still traveled with the Jimmy Church Band. I started doing acting gigs in Nashville. I landed this hosting role on this Christian Bible study series. I did that for 6 seasons, I think. And then I knew at that point that I was going to move to Los Angeles. In 2014, I met my husband, my then boyfriend, but now my husband. And I told his ass, I said, look, I'm going to Los Angeles, okay? I told him from the very first night. I remember the very first night. I told him, at some point, I'm going to LA, right? And so relationship continued. And at one point, I auditioned for a pilot out of Atlanta. Went to Atlanta to meet the cast, meet with the producer, and I met this lady. We did our table read for the pilot. She took me outside and she said, I want you to read this for me. And I was like, cool. I looked at it. I looked at, whatever it is she gave me, the script. I read it and she was like, you're perfect. You have to be in my movie. And I'm like, oh, snap. That's what's up, right? So she cast me in her movie right then and there. A couple of weeks later, I hit her up and I was like, I'm so excited to work with you. I'm really, really thinking about Los Angeles. You know, I know that you mentioned that you have an attorney and you have an agent out in Los Angeles. I love to chat with you about that. Actually, it was an attorney and a manager out in Los Angeles. I love to talk to you about that. She said, girl, here they go. This is their names, addresses, hit them up. I hit them up and they said, come out to Los Angeles and meet with us. Okay. I'm at this point, I'm just looking for a reason, right? That's all I need is a reason. I go out to Los Angeles, booked my flight, whatever, got out to Los Angeles. I stayed for a little under 2 weeks. I stayed for 11 days, I think. Met with the agent, met with the manager. She brought me in to meet with an agent. I performed for them. They cried. Well, she said she cried. And she was just like, oh my gosh, like, this is what dreams are made of. We love it. You coming from a small town, you know, Nashville. You coming from the South. You coming to LA. We want to make you a star, right? Let's sign you. I said, oh my gosh, this is my chance. This is my reason. I go back to Nashville, packed up my man. I like to say I packed up my man, but really, y'all, it was honestly a big deal for me to take my boyfriend. We had been dating for, I think, a year and a half at this point. Not even. It wasn't even a year and a half. It was like a year and a few months. And in 3 weeks, I moved to LA. I said, time to go, right? It's a sweet story about how I went to my husband's family home and we had dinner and we talked about him moving to Los Angeles. We talk about that in another podcast, but yeah, it was a big deal. So we drove across country, moved to Los Angeles in 2016. I thought this was my huge opportunity. My husband gave me 3 years to get famous. He was like, 3 years and we out, right? Long story short, I met with the agent and manager after a month of being there. I had to hit them up. I'm like, hey, you know what's up? I'm here. You know, y'all I thought we was, doing this thing together. I meet with them and they wanted to sign me, but they didn't want me to take my contract to an attorney. They told me right then and there in the office, they were like, look, you can go ahead. You can read it right here. You can sign it if you want to, but you can't take it and look at it with an attorney. Like, what? I mean, I was very much like, I don't even know what this is. I don't even understand. At this point, I was 25 years old. So I'm not a young girl, but at the end of the day, why can't I just go look at this with my attorney? Mind you, I didn't have an attorney. I just told them that. I said, send it to me. I'll go over it with my attorney. Obviously, that was a red flag for them. I started crying right there in the office because at this point, I've moved my boyfriend out here. I had to explain to his family that this is my big opportunity to go to Los Angeles and make myself a star, right? We done got this apartment. I've been out here for a month grinding, trying to figure out, what the hell I'm doing with my life. And you telling me I can't take this contract to my attorney? What type of silly stuff is that? I cried, went home. He said, you can go home and think about it. I called him. I said, I can't in good faith do this. I'm not going to sign with you guys. So it didn't work out. Nevertheless, I see it through. That's what we do. Ooh. I stayed in Los Angeles. I've got job after job. I was working for a temp service. I started working with the murder mystery company, which I was doing that here in Nashville. So I was doing dinner theater, self-submitting. If you are an actor, you know the self-submitting game. It is a lot. You are a hustler. if you are self-submitting, shout out to all my actors out there who are in your self-submitting stage. And I was looking for reps. That is the point of reps, to not have to self-submit. We can talk about that on another episode too, self-submitting. Self-submitting when you don't think your reps are doing their job. We'll talk about that. Anyway, so I'm looking for reps. I'm working. I'm doing non-union shorts. I'm doing non-union work, commercials, TV. 2017, I get married. Me and my husband come back here to Nashville. We get married. 2018, I was working like a slave. I literally had a third shift job. I was still doing murder mysteries, still looking for some reps. By this time, I feel like I was distracted. I was pretty much living that LA life where you get into this mode where you're, Lyft driving and Instacart. I never did that, but you're doing all of these things just to maintain yourself in Los Angeles, but you're not focused on the goal, right? I remember having meetings with reps, and I had just got off my third shift job, and I got makeup running down my face, and I gotta go to this murder mystery show that I got in 2 hours, and I got my clothes in my car, and I'm doing this, right? But I came to Los Angeles to get reps. Why was this not the number one thing? I then started to take a bunch of classes. And this I don't regret, right? I feel like you can get into this thing as an actor that's not working, or an actor that is working, but isn't satisfied maybe, or you are just taking class after class. And I'm thankful for the class. One of my classes was Groundlings. I met one of my good friends to this day taking classes at Groundlings. Groundlings is an improv school, famous improv school out of Los Angeles. A lot of your faves went there. Will Ferrell, Melissa McCarthy, Kristen Wiig, huge actors went to comedic actors went to Groundlings. I took Annie Grinley. If you are an actor in Los Angeles or anywhere, because I think they do online classes now, take in Annie Grinley's class. I'll put her name in the description, but take Annie Grinley's class. That is where I learned that you could take scene study after scene study after scene study class, but you will never do a scene if you don't book a job. You need to focus on auditions. That should be your main concern right now. If you're not booking and you're taking a bunch of classes, it's probably because you're not focused on auditioning. The world of auditioning and self-tapes has changed so drastically. It's so competitive. Take Annie Grinley's class. So in early 2019, I was actually in intermediate at Groundlings, and I booked my first lead in a feature film. It was a non-union film called Zombies 2. It was a sequel. Shout out to Scotty Mullen for casting me in that movie. It was such an incredible experience. The budget for the movie was $100,000. We got an Airbnb. I think it was like 10. It was a really small crew. It was maybe 8 cast members and like maybe a 6-person crew, something crazy like that. We shot it in 9 days in Fresno, California, and it was an experience I will never forget. It was like I said, my first lead in a movie. I'm really thankful for that. Thanks, Scotty. Oh my God. Shortly after that, well, later on that year, I'll say like around July, I got my reps. Finally, I got a manager and I got an agent. I got them at separate times. Actually, the agent was from a referral, and my manager, he had some clients, but he was still kind of building his roster, and somebody told me to hit him up. I did. We had a meeting. We gelled, and he's still my manager today. And so around July, around that same time, I decided I was going to get pregnant. Let's do it, right? I don't know what told me to get pregnant at this time. I literally just got the thing that I've been working for this whole time I've been in Los Angeles. I finally have reps. I finally don't have to self-submit anymore. I don't have to do a whole bunch of, foolishness to get auditions and do a bunch of non-union, what is it, copy and credits. I don't have to do that, right? But God literally just was like, it's time. Plus, I have a husband, and he's got certain expectations. So important to talk about, right? So I decided I was going to get pregnant. We started trying, and in October, end of October, actually it was November. I remember it was November when we found out I was pregnant, because it was right before Thanksgiving, and we were about to go visit my dad in Milwaukee. And when we got there, we told him he was going to be a grandfather. And it was so exciting, so much fun. Finally telling my dad and telling my family, our parents, that, we're about to do this thing. Around that time, I was doing a play. My first play in Los Angeles. It was called The Double V. It was at the Matrix Theater. Shout out to the Matrix Theater on Melrose. And in February of that following year, 2020, it was COVID. And this is when it broke out all over the world, right? COVID was this huge thing. Me and my husband decided we were going to go on a baby moon. If you don't know, if you're not a parent, a baby moon is a trip that you go on right before you have your first kid, which honestly, I am a huge, huge supporter of a baby moon, because after kids are here, bruh, it ain't none of that, right? Not if you just regular schmegler like me and my husband. We used to travel all over. We used to be all over the damn place. We've been to Paris. We went to Egypt. We went to where the hell else? We went to Dubai for the baby moon. We went to Aruba. We were all over the damn place. So anyway, we were in Aruba, and I kid you not, the day after we landed in Aruba, they put a note under our door saying that they were shutting down the borders to the United States. That didn't stop us from kicking it while we were there, but we did have to cut our trip short. It was a pretty scary time. I want to say it was scary, but I feel like we were in so much bliss that we were pregnant that we didn't really understand, the seriousness of this COVID thing. We were scared, obviously, but yeah, we just did our thing. And in July of that year, we had Delaney, my oldest child. In October of 2020, I booked my first national commercial for Eggo Waffles. This was such a big deal because this was the first time that I had a national gig, right? People on the other side of the country, my people over on the East Coast, could see me. They could turn on the TV. They'd be randomly watching anything, and then I pop up on the screen. Up until then, I was doing, like I said, non-union work, even Zombies too. Like, that was a paid movie you had to pay for on Amazon. And, like, you had to really love me to pay to go watch that movie. You know what I mean? So, Eggo Waffles was huge, right? 2021, COVID's died down. I got my reps. I got my baby. I start auditioning like crazy. I remember not 1 week, but multiple weeks. In 1 week, I would have 8 to 12 auditions. Nothing. And that was everything. I think I was still auditioning for non-union stuff too, because I wasn't union yet. But everything from commercials to films to TV, I'm audition. I was still taking classes. And then another thing that I started doing that really started to help me was private lessons. After I finished doing Annie Grinley, and I did, because she has this She has this intensive that you take for a week or 2 weeks maybe. Then I started taking that class kind of regularly. Then I started to do private lessons with one of the coaches there. And that's when I really started to see a significant change in my work. And that's when I started booking. I landed my first major network TV role on the live action version of Nickelodeon's Fairly Odd Parents. It was a recurring co-star. And it was crazy. After that, I booked NCIS Los Angeles. Then I booked Westworld. Oh, I will never forget the Westworld booking because my agent called me it was something like crazy, like 9:30 at night. It was like, they want to know if you could be here. It wasn't the next day. I think it was the day after that. But I was just like, Westworld, what the fuck? On HBO? Like, are you sure? I remembered the audition because I did the audition like a month and a half before. Like, why are they just now calling about this? Anyway, shout out to John Papsadera, crazy, incredible casting director. He's probably cast 8 or 9 movies that you've seen. Just easy. Thank you so much for bringing me on for that. But anyway, overall, I started booking my biggest roles when I became a mother. And I want to say, those bookings were because I was a mother, right? I had this life experience of making a person. But what I really believe is that life runs concurrent with your career. And this is the mindset that you have to have as a person who is an artist or who is just anxious to build their own career and be somebody that's successful. Go ahead and have the kid, right? Just do it, because whether or not you get more motivated or whatever, or God decides to bless your life, whatever happens, you are just going to continue to grow and grow as an artist, as a parent, as an entrepreneur. It just all happens together as long as you stay committed and organized. So that's me in a nutshell. So now I want to talk about my reality as a mom and as an actor. First of all, like I said, I think I said it 18 times, it's not easy. I'm not going to ever make y'all feel like it's easy. Matter of fact, I don't think I had one guest on here yet who said it was easy. It is tough. You have to be a hustler. Also, you got to be your number one cheerleader. There are going to be days where the people most closest to you will be working against you. And it's not going to be because they mean to. They mean well. They want you to be happy. But they will be working against you, i.e. your kids. They don't care. They got to eat, okay? They want to, what were we talking about earlier? Snacks? They want a snack. They don't care that mommy has a 6-page audition tomorrow, right? Your husband, your partner, or your wife, whoever it is, they don't understand that unless they do. I do have a guest that does have a partner who is a creative, and that's an interesting conversation. But if your partner is not a creative like you, they're not going to understand some of the sacrifices that you have to make and how supportive that they're going to have to be in certain situations. Say, you right in the middle of a family disaster or something really deep is going on with your life, and you book a job and you got to go to Africa for 2 weeks. You got to be your number one cheerleader, period. You got to stay motivated. You got to stay self-motivated. You have to be willing to go broke. This is another huge one, right? This is a really scary place to be when you got kids, especially if you're a single person, right? You gotta be able to go broke. And with that being said, maybe you don't have a spouse, but you gotta have a community. The thing about becoming a parent as a creative is it makes you stronger. If you let it, it will push you to your limits. If you let it, or to break you. It's really one or the other, right? I had a friend in real estate, and because I did get my real estate license at one point, I was in LA. I was doing the most, like I do, overloading myself, and I got my real estate license, and I was pushing to be a realtor at the same time, trying to be an actor. Luckily, I wasn't a mom yet. But I had a conversation with her, and I was just like, yeah, I'm an actor still, and, I love real estate. This is so fun, but acting is my passion. And she was like, yeah, I had a conversation with my husband. I really, really wanted to be an actor. I moved here to Los Angeles to be an actor, but he told me if I wanted to act, we wouldn't be together. And that was just that. And guess what she chose? Real estate and her husband. It'll make you or it'll break you. You choose a family or you choose acting. Sometimes that's the choice. And that's why I say I'm super blessed, because I didn't have that choice. But some days I do have to make that choice. And you will too. So there's another factor in being a mommy actor, right? Having a partner or not having a partner, right? There's benefits. And there's also some struggles with having a partner. Number one, you got a partner you can trade off with your kids, right? Hey, I got this audition. Can you watch the kids? Even though for my moms that are listening, you will predominantly have the responsibility of being mommy. That's just what it is. You're a woman. You're gonna want to take on most responsibilities. To be honest with you, sometimes I'm frustrated, but I know that mommy's gonna do it right. Mommy's gonna make sure the kids are tucked in right. They got their baths. They brush their teeth, because that's one dads will quickly forget. Oh, they good. They ain't gotta wash no damn teeth. Bath? Why they ain't gotta take no bath tonight? You know what I'm saying? They will still be your predominant responsibility. The other thing about having a partner, your life feels complete. Like, you're not lonely. Who I'm not going to say who doesn't want to be lonely. Sometimes I want to be lonely, damn it. I mean, especially at nighttime after I done been completely overstimulated by everything. But you have a life partner. You got somebody to bounce ideas off of. You got a best friend. Having a partner is really good as an actor, because it can be a very mentally draining career. And when I say having a partner, having a supportive partner, not just a partner, but somebody who supports you and believes in you and wants you to do well. This is important, because you might need to check yourself and check your partner and see if it's a good match. Also, all life experience, everything that you do in your life is going to add to your acting. It's going to make you a better actor. So having a partner helps you bring realness in scenes where you are a wife, or you are, you're struggling with communicating, you know what I'm saying, or being in a long-term relationship. So that's another benefit. You get that life experience of being a wife. I know it's helped me in a lot of all types of auditions, commercial auditions, movie auditions, film auditions. Being a wife and having a long-term partner helps me understand scenes better. Honestly, I'm really not sure how single mothers do it, but shout out to single mothers. You're incredible. Single mothers doing anything, any type of career, but especially single mothers who are actors. On the flip side, having a partner has its challenges, right? Number one, you have expectations of you as a woman. And in some ways, it could be easier, right? You don't have the expectation of, having to do all the cooking and the cleaning. You know what I'm saying? Or having kids. You can have kids on your own time. You don't have to be like, oh, well, my mama, we'll be this age if we don't have our kids now. I know you're not right where you want to be in your career, but what about me? What about my needs? That's what's coming from your partner. You don't have to think about that when you have a partner, right? When you don't have a partner, excuse me. Um, you can be a little bit easier on yourself. You make your own choices. Period. I don't have a partner. I got these kids, but at least I can parent them the way I want to parent them. Sometimes my husband gets on my nerves with his standards. She looks fine, Dominic. She looks fine. The shirt is a little wrinkled, but she be all right. She's 5. She be good. Half the kids in her class got a wrinkled shirt. Oh, man, turn it to. We gotta go do that trip because such and such they gonna be there. We don't gotta do the trip because I got 2 auditions to do. Or we gotta go to that grocery store. You can make your own choices as a single person. Another thing that could be a challenge when you have a partner is different career goals, right? You might say, hey, I want to be this certain place in my career as an actor. You will say, I want to get this many TV credits and this many movies before I start having a kid. Or I want to work with these actors. I want to have this goal, get these awards before I have a kid. But your husband might say, look, my business is booming. I'm making this amount of money. Come on, let's do this. I can take care of you. It's a thing, and we'll talk about it right here on the Mommy Actor Podcast. Another challenge, name change. This is a biggie, right? I'm going to talk about my experience. So I told y'all I got married in 2017. And I was so excited to change my name. Matter of fact, we got married in October. We traveled in November, got back to Los Angeles, I think early January, probably January 2nd. I think we spent New Year's in California. And I think it was the 3rd of January. I went to the Social Security office. I was like, let's do this. You know what I'm saying? I changed my name to TERRA Strong Lions. That's my legal name because I wanted to keep the strong. And I was really, really excited to change my name to my husband's name. That was important to me. It was important to him. It still is. But when it came to my acting career and what I wanted to be known for, I saw TERRA Strong in lights when I was 5 years old. When I decided I was going to be Whitney Houston, TERRA Strong was going to be up there. It's a strong name. Aside from the fact that that was my dream, I've already built a little career with TERRA Strong. And people know me as TERRA Strong. Even though I'm not rich and famous yet, TERRA Strong, that was the pick. However, when I became Lions, now this is a whole nother thing, right? It's not like I married a Jackson or a Smith or, like a Strong and a Lions. That's competitive, right? And so me and my husband, we've had lots of discussions about, me being TERRA Lions. For a minute, I was TERRA Lions. Dropped TERRA Strong altogether. Deep, right? Then I've gone back to TERRA Strong. Today, I feel good about TERRA Strong Lions. I've worked really hard. I've earned both names. I literally was born TERRA Strong. I was born a Strong. I married a Lions. I worked really hard on my marriage to be a good wife and give to my family. So TERRA Strong Lions, it's got a little ring to it. And so that's what we're going with today. Maybe next year things will change. We'll see. Lastly, I want to talk about figuring out when it's time to make certain major sacrifices in your life for the benefit of your family. In May of 2024, me and my husband decided to leave Los Angeles and move back home to Nashville so that my daughters and my family can grow up around family. Los Angeles was very expensive. We have a home there. We had a mortgage we were paying. And I was missing out on so much life. I told you I'm a sorority girl. I was missing out on weddings. I was missing out on, baby showers and girls trips, family trips, family stuff. I was missing out on holidays with my family. I remember one Christmas I cried so much because I wanted to be home with my dad. And, when you are on the whole other side of the country, number one, it's expensive to go home. But number two, when you're living in an expensive city, I got to work. I can't take off a week I can't take off 5 days plus. Then we had the baby. So there was so much sacrifice, too much sacrifice in going and staying in Los Angeles that we decided we were going to leave. When I moved to Los Angeles, y'all, I knew that I was going to be there forever. There's this stigma. There's this thing where you're like, oh, I came and I stayed, right? I had conversations with other just people that live in Los Angeles that are like, yeah, girl, I had a friend that was here for 5 months and left. We stayed there 8 years. And I have to say, who I am as a person, who I am as a mother, who I am as an actor. I built a resume in Los Angeles that has followed me here to the Southeast and made me have the career that I have now. I truly believe that if I had not have gone to Los Angeles, I would not have the career that I have today. So I'm thankful for Los Angeles. We were 3 months pregnant. And I was working a 9-to-5 job, y'all. A 9-to-5 job at a robotics company as an office. I wasn't even an office manager. I was an office coordinator. I had benefits, right? I had stable income, but I didn't come to Los Angeles to be working no 9-to-5 job. Not, especially not at a robotics company. Now, if I had been working at, a big agency, UTA, or working for a casting director, maybe. But I'm not even doing the thing I want to do. I'm here. I'm distracted again, right? Like when I was working that third shift job. We had to pay for babysitters, right? I had to lie to take gigs. I would book a show. Like I remember very specifically, I booked the Vince Staples show. And I was working my 9-to-5, but I was still a temp at the time. And a gig comes, you can audition, the gig comes, they need you there 2 days, the next day sometimes. And so I just straight up told, hey, I got some errands to run this today. So sorry. Oh, my daughter has a doctor's appointment. I mean, I could think of a million lies that I told them because I had to go to an audition or I had to go to a fitting or a booking, booked the Vince Staples show. And I was so stressed on set. I remember being so stressed on that set. I felt super awkward there because I knew that at the end of this, I got to go back to that job that I need, right? But I done lied to them, and I done missed a few days this week because, obviously I'm supposed to be happy and excited. So these were some of the sacrifices that I was making, some of the hardships that I had just because I was in Los Angeles. But then again, I want to say I'm thankful for that job. It gave me benefits. It paid for my baby. It paid my hospital expenses for the most part. And I got benefits for 3.5 months after my baby was here. We were in Los Angeles. We had no help. And it was really, really taking a toll on our family. So me and my husband, we had a conversation. And we said, in order for us to be productive, in order for our family to be happy, it was a lot of stress between us because when I got done with my 9-to-5, Dominic had been working. So, we're going to pick up the kid. Who's going to be watching the kid? It was too much. And I think when you become a parent, you really start to make those decisions. And I want this to be clear, that you can do it. If we wanted to stay in Los Angeles, we would have stayed in Los Angeles and things would have worked out. We would still be there. We might still be stressed. Maybe we would have killed each other. But we would have made it happen, right? But specifically for me, for my life and how things have worked out for me, since we moved from Los Angeles to Nashville, I have booked more roles than I ever did in Los Angeles. Well, not more, better caliber, I would say. I booked my guest stars. I lost Law and Order, I've had more consistency in my career. But really, mostly, more important than all of that, my family is happy. I feel aligned. I've seen my mom more than I ever did when I lived in Los Angeles. My dad, I think my dad came to Los Angeles once. One time. The whole time we lived there for 8 years. I've seen my dad in these last 2 years here at least 8 times. He's come here for Thanksgiving, Christmas. I've gone there. I'm actually headed there next week. That was not possible. And I'm saying this because if you are grappling with starting a family, let's start there. Let's say you're trying to figure out, am I going to do this? Am I going to start the family? Just know ahead of time that some things might change. Your heart might change. Even after my first, I didn't think I was going to leave Los Angeles. Even getting pregnant with my second, because we planned our second child as well. I didn't think we were going to leave Los Angeles. I just want you to know that if you do make that decision, if it happens that way, it might be for the good. I feel happy. I feel free. I feel fulfilled, right? Enough. And shoot, it's nothing for me to book a job in New York and call up my mother-in-law and be like, hey, what's up, mama? I'm going to be in New York for 2 weeks. This is what happened when I booked FBI. I'm going to be in New York. I just booked FBI, bruh. This is my biggest guest star ever, right? Yeah, top of show guest star, right? I got to go do it. Mama, can you watch the kids? Yeah. We'll juggle the kids. On the flip side, if I had been in Los Angeles, first of all, we would have ran around the house for an hour trying to figure out what the hell we gonna do. Then I would have had to call my mother or my mother-in-law and been like, hey, can one of y'all come out to LA and watch the kids? I gotta fly to New York. It wouldn't. Overall, God has made it abundantly clear that it was time for us to leave. And although I am nervous because I still do want to work in Los Angeles, since I moved here, I have worked in Los Angeles. I worked in New York. I've worked in Atlanta. I've worked in Nashville. All SAG projects, all major network projects. And I'm thankful. I'm thankful for that. And I'm thankful because I don't feel regret from leaving. Number one reason is because the month that we were planning on leaving for Nashville from Los Angeles, we found out that my husband's father was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. A week before we were supposed to leave Los Angeles, we got a call that we needed to be in Nashville immediately. A week after we got to Nashville, we lost my husband's father. And although this is a really hard situation to deal with, and it's a really harsh reality that we didn't get to spend the last few years with my husband's father, it's such a blessing that we were already coming here. It was already aligned. Our house was basically already packed up. And now we are here to really enjoy family and enjoy Dominic's mother, because we really need each other right now. So again, God made it abundantly clear it was time for us to leave. We're in Nashville. Life is popping. It's been a game changer to be here. I really understand. We really understand what's most important in life is family. That's what's most important. Now everything else can just come and just be like added, right? Icing on the cake, a career, acting, booking roles, right? That's crazy. Plus, the industry has changed since COVID. Everything is self-tape. I've said this on an interview on my Instagram page that every TV role that I've ever booked has been from tape. And thank goodness I learned the art of performing in self-tape. I now coach actors on self-tapes. I've seen tremendous success from the actors that I coached and success for myself. You have to be willing to work local. I did work local when I booked in New York, not in Atlanta. I do still have my house in Los Angeles. I work local in in Los Angeles. And yeah, I still have a very promised career because of self-tape. So get your self-tape game up, acting moms, actors. I'm thankful to be adjusting to life as a full-time creative. All right, y'all. Lastly, I just want this podcast to inspire women to live a full life and find ways to enjoy the downtime. When I'm not doing something in acting, I'm a mom. And I feel blessed for that. I feel so blessed that I took the leap to decide to be a mom because I am not mostly fulfilled by my accomplishments in acting. I am defined by my legacy and my children and the family that I have created. I am so excited for this season and my guests. You guys are in for a real treat. Listen, I am deeply inspired by these mommy actors, and I know you will be too. So if you want to make sure you don't miss an episode of the Mommy Actor Podcast, make sure you subscribe right now. Subscribe, like, share it with another mommy actor, share it with an actor friend, share it with a woman who might want to start a family. Share this podcast because these stories deserve to be told. These stories have a space and a place, and I want y'all to be there. This podcast is produced by Moment of Creation Studio in Nashville, Tennessee. Shout out to Des Perry and Alicia Bailey. And in affiliation with the SAG-AFTRA Labor Union, this is the Mommy Actor Podcast. See you next time.